or if you weren't, you have people that weren't able to make it, they will be able to view this as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be covering how to create a group master, adding allocations and rates to the master, and then making reservations off of the group. So let's just get started. I'm just checking to see if there's anybody having difficulty. Nope. Okay. All right. So to build a group master, we're going to start with reservations, groups, and create a new group master. Now, for time purposes, I have already created a group, so this is our form to fill out. So I'm going to bring one up that I've already filled out for you, and we'll discuss that one. All right, this is the group master filled out, but we're going to talk about the top of this form. So you have your arrival date and your departure date for the group and the reservation type. And I'm sorry, excuse me, I've got the wrong screen up. Pardon me. Let me get the group master out. There we go. That's what I wanted. There we go. All right. So again, we have the arrival date and the departure date, and you can assign number of persons to the group if you know beforehand. So we've assigned one person per room for this group. That can be changed on the reservations. I'm not going to be adding children or babies or cribs and rollaways to the group master. That will be added to the reservations as they apply. The ETA is really good for the group's coordinator to know when a group is coming so they can warn the front desk to be prepared so that that group needs to be pre-regged or anything, you're already ready. So, but this information is only on this form. There's no other report that shows that, but this is a reminder of what time that you expect the group to come in. And so if it's a bus tour and they say they're going to be here around 3 o'clock, that gives the front desk and everybody an idea of when to get prepared for that group. Under the group master rate class, a lot of you properties out there may only have one, but you are allowed to have multiple group master classes, and you can assign rates for all of those. So as a default, there's always a rate for your staff to follow. And so for our example, we're using corporate group master. And before, AutoClerk would always assign the rack rate class to a group master. And we've given you the ability now to assign any rate class that you would like to use. And in this case, we are going to use group corporate. So when you're looking at your yield management reports and other reports, you can see where your business is coming from the group side. AutoClerk has the ability to release groups for you. It can either release it once on a given date that you're given, or it can do a daily release. So let's talk about release once real quick. Release once is AutoClerk will release the inventory on that day that is set, but if you do not put anything in the group cutoff time, it will default to the arrival of the group, and it will release the inventory on that night's night audit. So you will be sitting on, and if any unused rooms are still attached to the group, you will be sitting on those until the night audit or somebody goes in and manually releases those. So you can set up a cutoff date. Most groups, there's usually 30 days before you release the inventory, so you can set that up prior. But again, if you don't put any date in there at all, it will default to the arrival date. Now, daily release. Daily release is also known as a rolling cutoff, and it's used for allotment or FIT reservations. It's determined by the number of days that you put in here. So, for example, if I was to put a 7 in here, AutoClerk during the night audit looks ahead 7 days and releases any unbooked rooms for that 8th day. As allotments are usually for a long period of time, say a year contract, using a rolling cutoff lets AutoClerk manage when rooms are released back to the property's general availability instead of manually managing that inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back. And let me just show you what those reports look like. During your night audit, if it's going to have any groups that's going to be released, it will give you a report. Now, some of you may not be printing out all of your night audit reports, so you can access this report under Utilities View Past Night Audits. This is a group room release warning report that you will, I'm sorry, excuse me, 1 second, let me pull that up. So AutoClerk has a default date, cutoff date of the arrival of the group. So on the 22nd, it's telling me I have 1 day warning that on the date of the group's cutoff, it's going to be releasing the group rooms. And because of the fact that I have the group cutoff as the same day as the group, you'll get another one which shows 0 days warning. This is your last attempt to be reminded that this group's inventory is going to be released. And again, these reports are available under your utilities, view past night audits, or they're printed out during your night audit. And this report is called a release warning. And then you have the group release report. And my Humboldt University group is set up to have a 7-day rolling cutoff. It's a 90-day group. It's got 5 rooms per day. So this is telling me on the 22nd that in 7 days it is releasing the inventory for the 29th. If you add 7 to 22, you get 29. So this is telling you that it has released 5 rooms on the 29th for this group. And this is also what your other group room release reports will look like. This one happens to be my rolling cutoff one, but this is the same format that you will see when you are looking at any other groups that have a cutoff coming up. And that is your group release and cutoff report. Okay. Oops, excuse me, a little fumbly here. All right, so we've talked about the release once and the rolling cutoff. The deposit needed. Now that is for maybe a group that you require an advance deposit on all members that are calling in for the group. When you put a deposit needed here, it will follow all the reservations attached to the group. And where would you find that information? I'm going to show you a reservation that will allow us to see that area. 1 second here. So for your staff to know that you have a deposit required, they're going to click on this show guarantee information, and any amount that you have put in for the group will show on this section, so that once they're finished making the reservation, the next screen gives them the opportunity to send a confirmation letter or post an advance deposit. They would know right away what advance deposit amount, that minimum that they would need to add to that advance deposit for that reservation. And again, that is under show guarantee information, and that's where that deposit information will show up. All right, now the cancel deadline is basically the same thing as the ETA. It's just for information purposes only. It will not cancel the group on that date. You can cancel the group after the date. It's just to remind the group's coordinator when they told the person, the contact of the group, when they can cancel the group. So it's just for information only, and again, it's only available on the group master form. It's not available on any other report for you to pull up. So we've already filled out the information of the group. The details button allows you to add additional information in case there's a second email or a second contact. You have the ability, and an additional phone number, you have the ability to add that information on this screen. But in order to get to that information, you would have to come into the group master and click on that details button. The specials field, the memo field, and the note field will all follow to all reservations that are booked onto the group. So if there's anything you're trying to communicate to your staff members when it comes to booking a group, you can put that in the note field. Maybe this group has a late checkout. So under the memo field, under housekeeping, you can put 1 p.m. late checkout. And as each person is checked in, when the housekeeping report is printed, that note will show up next to everybody's names for those rooms, so that your housekeeping staff knows that this is a group and that all of these certain rooms are going to be checking out late. On the check-in slip, if you put anything on there, it will also follow every reservation that's added, but it will also show up on the check-in slip. So you want to make sure what you put in there is appropriate for where your client's going to sign and see that. So just a real quick reminder, specials, memo, and note will follow to every reservation. So if you're booking a group that's only got king beds, but you're willing to allow queen beds, you might want to add a note in here what you would like the rate to be quoted as, so your staff can upsell or add additional room types to the group and know what the rate will be to quote for the client that's calling in. The reason I have the back form up is because when you first get into a group master, you don't get a Build To set up. This Build To that you see on this one that I've already created is set up on a different screen that we will be covering here very shortly. So I didn't want to confuse you that you see this Build To template, but you don't see it on the master form. That is going to be another section you're going to set that up. But you can set up a group to be tax exempt. And once you set this tax exempt, every reservation all the way through to check-in will hold the tax exempt, so that you make sure that nobody goes through and is being charged taxes if this is a tax exempt group. And you'll set that up through this group master on this form. You have your source codes and your user fields, and you can also add your travel agent information down here at the bottom in case this is a commissionable group and a travel agent has booked that with you. And that is how we start the group master. Now you're probably wondering, where am I going to put the allocations and the rates? And where we're going to do that is in the next screen. Now I'm in a modify screen, so normally when you are in the group master and you're booking for the first time, you will automatically be taken into the allocation and rates monitor. But because I have one that we've already created, when I hit save, I'm going to get my confirmation that this is a master group reservation and the confirmation number. And by the way, all groups start with a letter in the confirmation number, so it makes it very simple for you to understand and see that you are looking at a group reservation and something that's part of the group. And it shows the arrival date. And normally in the beginning of a group it would say created on the date and created by, so we're in a modified screen, so we are going to see the words modify. And when I hit OK, again, normally when you book a group for the first time, as soon as you hit OK, you're brought right into the allocations and rates grid. But because I'm in a modify screen, I have a password set, and it's going to require me to use that to get into the allocations and rates. And this is our group allocation screen. Now, in a multi-night stay group, we can only really show you about 3 days. And in this case, this group is for 4 days. So if I want to look at the 4th day, I'm just going to hit this little button down here, and that'll take me to the 4th day. And the reason we can only show you 3 days is because we give you the ability to add rates for 1 to 4 people. So you can look at this allocation monitor without the rates by just clicking the button, and that just shows you what you have allocations. So if you want to add allocations to this group, which I've already done, but I'm going to add an additional room type, you can do this by cell. You can type in one at a time and put that information in, or you have the ability to use the Edit Multi-Allocation. I'm a real fan of this button. It makes things very simple to add inventory, release inventory. So if you've never seen this before, I encourage you to use it because it just makes things a lot faster, especially on a multi-night group. If it's just one night, it's pretty easy just to put in the inventory in the cell and then do the rates. But before I show you that, I want to talk about the rates as well. So you can see that I can go in and individually put in the rates as I've quoted to the group contact. But it's a little time-consuming on a multi-night group. So I'm going to bring you back up here to edit, and we're going to use the multi-allocation. The AutoClerk group called and said that they want a room with a queen bed, non-smoking. They want to set aside some of those, and they're going to use it for the whole night of the group. If it's only going to be for 2 days, you just uncheck the days that the inventory would apply to. In this case, we're going to use all 4. And I'm going to simply just hit 10 rooms, and I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to show you this without rates. It just makes it a little easier. So that quickly, I have just now added 10 rooms to this group. So I'm going to bring the rates back up. So yes, now I can go in and put in the individual rates. But if you go back up to edit and you set multi-rates, you can do this a lot quicker. And since I've added the queen non, I'm going to uncheck these boxes over here because I've already set the rates for all the other room types. I'm just going to set the rates for the queen non. And so what you want to do is you want to click on the adult header, and you'll see AutoClerk goes out and goes after all the queen nons, because that's the box I have checked off. And then we can put a rate in here, and let's say it's $120. You don't have to put the 00 in there. AutoClerk is smart enough to know that once you put in the period, if it's a flat rate, it'll fill it out for you. And another thing, too, if you don't allow 3 and 4 adults into this type of room, you do not need to set it. It will apply for only the rates that you want to add for that particular room type. Now, when we're in this form, naturally we want to hit OK because we think we're done. We just put in the rates and we hit OK. By hitting OK, you are just saying to AutoClerk that you are done with this form and it's going to take you out. It will not set your rates. That's why we have this button here. You'll need to click Set Rates, and you will see the grid disappear, the color grid, and you will see that your rates have now been set. And so once you hit OK, you are brought back to the group allocation screen. And that is how fast you can set inventory and rates by using the multi-edit up here. And I really encourage you to use that. It's really fast. It's really easy. So I want to talk about this screen a little bit. You'll notice I'm in a blue screen. That is the allocation screen. This is what you started with. And then the remaining screen is green. and that shows what you have left and what you have currently booked. The top line under totals is showing what you have booked. So when AutoClerk calls back and says, you know what, we changed our mind, we're just going to stick with the king beds, you want to make sure that you are under the green screen. If you are under the blue screen, yes, you can still get rid of the inventory, but if you don't know you already have reservations booked against it, and you go up and you try to release these rooms, you're going to get a warning that it can't release the rooms because of such and such reservations are in use. So to save you that extra step and that extra warning, you want to make sure that you're under the remaining screen, the green screen. And you can go in, and again, you can always do these without rates, and you can go in and just say 0 and go through each line and finish it off and remove the inventory. You can do it like that. Or with another way is, again, the set multi-allocation screen. This is where I just love it because I'm going to go right into Queen 9. I'm going to set allocations, and I'm going to hit 0, and I'm going to hit OK. Bam. Just like that, my inventory is all gone. Now, AutoClerk will not hold a rate in your group's grid if it doesn't have any inventory. And that's another reason why I mentioned that in the notes field, if there's other room types that you allow this group to be booked for and you want the staff to know what the rates would be, that's a great place for them to find that information. When they go to another screen I'm going to be showing you to make a reservation off the group, they'll be able to see those additional rates. So that means you won't have to hold inventory for something you're not going to use just to try to, you know, convey the rate that it's supposed to be for that room type. So we have gone through the how to set up group allocations and how to set up the rates and how to remove it. Remember to be in the green screen, just saves you some time. Another thing I want to mention before I leave this screen is if your group is actually staying longer, you can actually change the group allocations from this screen as well. So if I wanted to make this group a 7-day, you just hit 7 in tab. And by the way, how I did that is in any place in AutoClerk, if you have the entire date range highlighted and you put in a number, whether it be 15, I could do 15 days. I put 15 in and hit tab, it's automatically going to take you out 15 days. And then you would click your reset allocation dates, and your grid and your pages will pick up the extra days. So for my example, so I don't confuse myself, I'm going to put that back to what the group is. So you can reset the dates in this group in case you need to accommodate a longer stay, or somebody called in and they need to stay longer than the group and you're okay with that, and so you can set the end date to accommodate the client that needs to stay longer than the bulk of the group. So we have created our group master. We have now allocated our rooms and we've given them rates, and I've also shown you how to do that really quickly and also reverse it. Just want to remind you one more time, be in the green screen when you're going to release rooms. It just saves you a lot of extra screen issues when you go to do that. Okay, so now we are going to go in and start booking reservations off of the group. And we're going to be using the group room management screen. But before I do that real quick, I want to talk about this menu up here at the top. You obviously saw me use create a new group master. If I already have the master created, but I need to go in and change the name or add some more information into the note field or add a phone number, you're going to click Modify a Group Master. And when you go into there, it's just the same way I started with this screen. You can go ahead and add your information, and you can hit the Save button, and you are prompted at that point to get to the allocation and rate screen. But if all you're doing is just changing the information, you would just simply escape and you would be brought back to the main menu. You also have the ability to skip the step of going through that from saving the master, putting in your group access code, and getting to the allocation monitor. You can click on Modify Group Allocation Rates Only, and that will take you into the grid. But you will be required to put in your access code if you have one set, and that is done through your configuration. So if you don't have one set or you would like one, please just give us a call. We'd be happy to show you how to set that up. So I'm in the Groups and Allocations window only, so I'm going right for the group, and this is where I can just jump in real quick and either add inventory, release inventory, or maybe add some rates and change my rates. That's how fast you can get into that. So I'm going to go ahead and escape out of that. All right. The bulk of what you're going to do with groups is group room management, and there's a lot that this can do. And by the way, let's talk about this screen here. When you first come into it, whether you're doing group modify or allocations or going to group room management or even needing to cancel, you are always brought into this type of screen. You can change the order up here to maybe you only know the confirmation number, you don't know what the name of the group is, or you're just looking for ones on the arrival date. So just like on your reservations form, you can change the order of how your groups are listed. Excuse me. You also have the expired masters down here, so any groups that you had before that are in the past and you want to do some research on it, or maybe you want to copy the information that you've had from a previous group that's returning, you can look at expired masters, and you can also choose to look at your canceled group masters as well. But those by default are not checked off, so it only shows you what's going on currently, so you would need to make sure you check those boxes off. So we are in the group room management screen. I'm going to access the AutoClerk group. And I want to talk to you, again, this form alone does a lot for you. Booking reservations off of it, adding allocations, checking in from this screen, checking out from this screen. It does a lot. So we're going to be spending the most of the rest of this webinar going over this screen. I'm going to bring you down here to the bottom first. I'm going to talk about this area. And what this is down here is the ability to put in a rooming list. You already know that, if you booked a group for King Nons, pretty much everybody's just going to have a King Non. But there might be the guy out there that needs to bring his family and he needs a room with 2 beds. And so you'll be able to book that on the fly right here, being able to set that up if only your group had started with Kings. So this is basically designed for a rooming list, and it does show the room types for the group that it currently has allocations. So in this case, I'm going to use the king bed. You can also assign a door number as you're making the reservations and putting in the rooming list so that it takes that extra step out for you so you can get the group all close together into your hotel. You can set the adults, the children, and babies. And this rates and taxes button allows your staff to know what the rate is set for this group and what it will be with taxes, the grand total, and then the entire total for the stay. So your staff can answer any questions your guests have regarding the rates and taxes, and it's right there for them. And as long as they choose one of the room types that are built for the group, excuse me, because you'd already set the rates, they'll be able to find that out. So you just would drop in the last name and hit Add Res over here, and you would see the name populate. Now maybe you're putting in a rooming list, but let's say Mark needs extra pillows. So how do we go in, and after we put in Mark as in our rooming list, how do we put a note in? You can either double-click on the name, or you can highlight and click Modify. And for this example, I'm just going to double-click, and I'm brought into Mark's reservations, and I can say needs extra pillows. And then once I save this record, I am brought back. And by the way, you can print a confirmation number straight from this area now. And if you don't have that ability, we will be bringing that to you in an update very soon. So now I've just added a note to Mark's reservation. And I can add anything else that would apply to Mark. But you have people calling in a wedding, and they're not a rooming list. So how do I use this form? Do I have to put in the name and then do an extra step and grab their name and do modify? That's like 2 or 3 steps. We don't want you to have to do that. So what you can do is click Add Res Full. Add Res Full brings you into a new reservation form. It does choose the room type. I'm going to escape out of this real quick. If you have the room type associated here, it will automatically bring up that room type as well. But doing the Add Res Full, you would have to know what the room type is. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to book a king, and it's not a rooming list, so I am going to click Add Res Full, and you will see that it brings in the king bed information for me. The number of days matches, and what I would have to do is it's using the group master class that we set, the rate class. So once I go through it, it's going to know that the rate for this room type for this group, it's going to set that. So you'll just tab right through it. And you can add the last name. And we're going to add a person here. We're going to add Linda. I have the ability at this point now to add the client's credit card in case the clients have to pay for their own room. In this case, this group is set up to be direct billed, and there will be one bill for that. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a moment. You have the ability, your staff has the ability to book the rooms and make the notes, and then once they're done with the reservation, they're going to save it. They get the confirmation number to give it to the client. They can post that advance deposit. They can print a confirmation number and get that client all taken care of. And as soon as you hit escape, you are brought right back to the group master. So now we have talked about how to put in a rooming list, which we're going to just use the easy form down at the bottom, but we can also add a res full and do a little bit more deeper information. Now, if you don't have your group access code set, or you allow your staff to know it with the rules that you apply of when they can use it, your staff members can book reservations on the fly. And what that means is we have a guest that's called in and they need a queen bed, non-smoking, but there's no reservation, or excuse me, there's no allocations for a queen non. You won't be able to book it here because this is a fast form and it will only rely on what's already allocated. So for your staff member to book a queen non, it would be really helpful if it's in the notes field for them to quote a rate on. They will see that when they go to click Add Res Full to book this. So again, I want to encourage you to put rates in the notes field so that your staff can upsell, or at least make sure that your group master rate class has a rate at minimum of what you would allow to have that clerk book. Because what we don't want is for a client to call in and say, I want a queen non, and your staff members to tell the client, I'm sorry, there's no allocations for this group, it's not set up for that, you're going to have to call back tomorrow when somebody can assist you. Nobody wants staff to say that, and no client wants to hear that. So to give that clerk the ability, they would have to know your group overbooking access code, but there is still another way around that. But for right now, for this example, I'm talking about booking on the fly. And so what your staff member would do, again, they have to know the access code. They would click Add Res Full, and they would book a queen non. And they would have to, the problem is the $80 rate is set for the group master class for that rate class. So this note over here would tell them that I'm booking a queen non. Maybe you have a note that says it's 120, so the staff member can then change the rate and be able to quote that. And for them to tell the client what the amount of taxes would be, remember the stay total up here would show you the room and occupancy tax and the grand total for the stay. So they would go ahead and add the information, add anything else that would apply to this group, and they were going to hit save. And this is where they're going to get the warning. This will add a room to your queen non allocations. The group over access code is what they will need to be able to override that. So we need to make sure that they know that. But if you don't allow them to have that access code, there's still another way around this so that we're not turning away guests that are calling in. So, but coming back to just this form real quick, when I hit escape, I'm brought back to the group, and you'll see that Chandra Lee is booked. Now, for our Best Western properties out there, this would be a great feature for you, but unfortunately, due to the way that the two-way handles groups, you would have to allocate the room first before you could add the reservation. And I'm sorry, hopefully they're making some changes in the group section so that we're hoping that we'll be able to give you the ability to book on the fly as well. So what I'm about to show you next, where a group, the staff member doesn't have the group access code, how are they going to handle it? For you Best Western properties, this is the way you're going to handle it as well. Again, I apologize, the two-way cannot handle a reservation added to a group on the fly. It has to send out the allocations first, so you must allocate the rooms before you can add the reservation to the group. So backing up just a little bit. Your staff member doesn't have the group access code. You're a Best Western, you can't book on the fly. Client calls in and wants to make a reservation for a queen bed, and they can't make the reservation because, again, they don't have the access code and the allocations are not there. So rather than turn away your guest, as long as the house has a queen non available to sell, your clerks can make a regular reservation for them. And then they would just need to let the group's coordinator or whoever is in charge of groups for your property, they would have to let them know that Brenda Velosa called in and she wants a queen non room type, but I wasn't able to book it through the group, but I've made her a reservation. And the group's coordinator, if you're a Best Western, you would come in and you would modify the group allocations right here from this screen. There's also another place I'm going to show you that you can do that very quickly, but because we're in this screen, I'm going to use this one. You would click Modify Group Allocations, you would put in your access code, and you're brought right to the grid. So if Brenda needs a queen non and you don't have any allocated, we're just going to run up here real quick, set multi-allocations, we're going to hit queen non, we're going to drop a 1 in there, we're going to hit OK. We got our inventory. I just need to grab a quick rate, so I'm going to go over here, I'm going to uncheck all the room types and do my queen non. I've already set a rate, but just to show you how fast it can be, I'm going to just change it to 103. 102 and 3. I'm going to set my rates, and I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit OK through this grid. So really quickly, I just added inventory for a queen 9. Okay. So now what I can do is I can go out and attach that reservation. By clicking on this button, it takes me out to a Res Modify screen so that you can see all the reservations. And here's Brenda Veloso's reservation. In this case, she's booked for a queen smoking. So I've already allocated the rooms for that group, for this room type. So we're just going to use that example. I wanted to use the queen 9 to show you how quickly you could add a room type to accommodate somebody that's booking outside of your group parameter. So for this example, again, we're using queen smoking. So as soon as I hit OK, the reservation is now attached to the group. You'll see Brenda Veloso is now attached, and the inventory has been brought down. So for Best Westerns, you can literally just modify the group, allocate the room, and then go and attach the res. For a non-Best Western, you're going to do basically the same thing. You need to at least make sure that the allocations are available, and then go out and attach the res. You can also detach a res very simply. Maybe Brenda was not supposed to be with the AutoClerk group. Maybe she was supposed to be with the Chrysler group. And so you can detach me and reassign me to another group. But I want to show you another place that you can do it. There's lots of different ways you can get into the allocation screen. We've already talked about, sorry, excuse me, my hand's a little jumpy. We already talked about going in through the Modify Group area to get to it with the access code. The group allocations area, so as you just go into that, you can get into allocations. Again, you need your access code. We've also done it from this screen, going to modify access code, but I also want to show you another place that you can do that. So your staff has left you a note that there's a person who wants to be part of the group, and you don't know, they didn't leave you any information, how many nights, they just gave you a confirmation number and a name. So what you can do, and I'm going to borrow excuse me, actually I'm going to borrow this one. So we have Linda P., who is not part of the group, and you can see there's no group confirmation number next to her name. She's just a regular reservation. So I'm going to go in and access her reservation. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a bad example because, no, I apologize. What I wanted to show you was another place to get into the group allocation monitor, so I need to show you through the res form of somebody that's already attached to the group. So I apologize for that Linda example. If you're in a reservation that is attached to a group member and they need to stay longer or they need to change their room type, you can literally do it right from this screen. You would go into the reservations, click the group tab, and look right here. We have a Modify Group Allocation button. So all you would have to do is put in your access code, and you are brought to the grid. Quickly go up, use edit. I'm a big fan, guys, of multi-edit allocations. It's just quicker. We've got lots of things to do in a day, and we don't have time to be doing cell by cell. So I'm a very big advocate for this one. So anyway, we can add the inventory and add the rates right there and accommodate and change that reservation to now match what we allocated. And we would have to go back in and change the rates, of course, because this form's already saved with that rate. But again, that's another place that you can accommodate a guest that needs to stay longer or change a room type, but they already are attached to the group. This will not work if they're not already part of your group. This group tab would not be populated. So I'm going to go ahead and escape and bring us back to this form. All right, so again, as you can see, this form does a lot for you. You can modify your allocations, you can put in a rooming list, you can take individual reservations, you can modify reservations, but you can still go to Reservation Modify and pull up a group member and modify them there. You do not have to go through the group room management screen. So now that we've covered the bottom part of this, let's talk about some of the stuff that we can do up here at the top. These headers down here, by the way, last name, first name, as you see me clicking on them, they will be put into an order. So I'm going to put this in the order where I have the conference room first. We have the ability to print the list exactly in the order I have just set it. So if you want to put the people that are checked in at the top and the people that are still due to arrive or cancels at the bottom, so that you can print out this list. Again, whatever order you put this bottom form in, whether you leave it as default or you change it, this report will print that out in that order. And in this case, I have put the conference room as the top in my order, and you can see that's the same order it's keeping. It will also show you what you have left in your allocations. So if this report is handy for you, this information shows you who's booked and what's still left very quickly. I'll close that. You also have the ability to print a group letter. Now, if I was to show you that, it shows you the raw form, but when you actually print it, it's a nice letter with your letterhead and all that on it. So you can print a group letter and send that to them. Or you can print the allocations report, and that just shows you your allocations and what rates you have set. This also could be a really good report for you to just put in an inventory, set a rate, print this, and give it to your staff to follow if you don't want to put the notes in. But again, if you take the inventory out, it will not hold the rate. So I just want to warn you on that. But this at least shows you what you have allocated, what you have left, and what the rates were when you set that group up. Okay, now this group master bill to, this is a great functionality. Whether you just put in the entire rooming list and then somebody calls you and tells you, oh, by the way, we want to direct bill this, or we want to set this up where we only get one receipt. You've already put in 15 rooms. You do not need to go back and massage all 15 reservations and add the bill to it. All you have to do is click on the Group Master Bill to setup, and you're going to choose a reservation to make the master. You're going to assign what the master bill is going to pay for, and then you're going to hit OK. Now, that brings me to why I have a conference room on this group. We have this thing where advanced deposits, and when you post an advanced deposit, it automatically creates a share with reservation. You don't have control over that. It's automatically what our system's going to do. When you do the share with advanced deposit, you must choose somebody in the group master that's going to stay the entire time of the group, and you're going to basically assign them as the master bill, and you would check them in, and then you would have to check in the B folio, the share with into that room's B folio so that you can route everybody to do that, to be billed to that. And you can set that up very simply, again, by doing the group master. I'm a big fan of booking a conference room, and I'll explain why. A conference room can be checked in prior to the group, so if you're the group's coordinator and the group's coming in on Saturday and you don't work, but you want to make sure everything's set up, you can check in the conference room a day early and just make sure that the staff knows what's going on and that everything is already automatically routed, and then you can enjoy your weekend and not worry about the master bill not being set up properly when the staff goes to check in the rooms. Another thing that a conference room can do is when you have an advanced deposit, if you post it to the conference room, you can check in that conference room, and everybody else that's checked into the group will automatically be routed to that conference room, and you'd have one receipt. So personally, I'm a big fan of using a conference room and always building a conference room on a group master, so I have an advanced deposit. I don't have to worry about an A and B folio, who to worry about that's going to be the master bill, so that I can let the staff know who to check in the share with to. I just check it into a conference room, and because I said the bill to was going to that confirmation number, every reservation will automatically be routed to that when they're checked in. So that's why I'm a fan of it. But again, if you've already put in the rooming list and somebody calls up and wants to set that up, once you set it to the Group Master Bill to button, AutoClerk's smart enough to know that when the rooms are checked in, that it's got a bill to, and it will automatically set it up. But I want to show you something that might confuse you. When you go into a reservation where the rooming list was already added or the reservations were already added and then the group master was added, you will notice that the bill to is not set up. And I don't want you to stress on that, because you do not need to go back in and fix every one of these reservations so that they light up like Brenda did. Brenda was added to the group after the bill to master was set up. So when you're looking at her reservation, you will, oh, I'm sorry, she was pulled in. She wasn't added, so she was attached. So attached would still not pick that up. I'm sorry, Chandra Lee is the one I booked for the group, and you will see that the bill to is automatically set up. So don't be confused that if you're looking at your group master and you see some reservations that were booked after you've set the group master set up, show the bill to in red, and other members in the group that were done before do not show it. When you go to check in this group, it will pick that up, and it will automatically route that to the group master that you have assigned it to with that confirmation number in this section. So that makes that very easy to do on the fly, and makes it nice and clean for the front desk to follow. Now, some of you will may not have the option to see the confirmation letter. Again, we have some new version coming out, and a lot of you will be updated and you'll be brought to that. So this just shows you some of the features that are coming towards you. Again, you can modify. We're going to talk about this section over here now. You can modify anybody by highlighting them. And this group, it's check-in day for the group. So I have two ways I can check in this group. I can either highlight this and click check-in, and I'm brought right into a check-in screen so that I can just choose my room and check it in. And as soon as I save this form, I am going to be brought right back to this group room master screen so that I can check in the next person. So if you have a lobby full of people, this is a quick way for you to just get in and get out and make the reservation. The other way, of course, is still check in with a reservation. The only problem with that is that, it's check in with a reservation, put in the name, and that's 3 keystrokes just to get into that form. But when you're done, you have to start all over. In the group room management screen, as soon as you're finished checking somebody in, which I'll show you that, I'll go commit all the way through that real quick for you. I'm going to give them room 120. And we're going to save that. And as soon as I hit escape, see, now that person is checked into in-house, and I can automatically go right in and check in the next person that's due to arrive. Very quick. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, checkout. You can do the same thing, but you can't use the checkout button if they have a balance. It'll warn you it can't check it out because it doesn't have a 0 balance. But being that AutoClerk, the entire group for that is going to be billed to the group master, the bulk of the group is going to have a 0 balance. So you could just say check out all once the group has left your hotel, and everybody that has a 0 balance will be automatically checked out of your system, leaving only the one, most likely the group master, with the one that has the balance, and then you would just go to the checkout screen and check them out after you post their balance. So that is how we use this section over here. There's a lot going on this form, but before I finish off with this, I want to talk to you about what these buttons are up here for. This shows you quickly what you have booked, what you have remaining, and what you start with, and what you have in grand total. So we have now covered those buttons. I just wanted to make sure I covered that before I left. You can also change the way you view the forms in here, and some of that will just take a little practice and a little playing around, but once you come back into this form, it will reset. It's just if you're looking at a very large rooming list, you're going after certain things, sometimes you may not want to see everything. You just want to look at the names, and the view allows you to do that. Letters, you can print check-in slips. You can print a confirmation letter. And if you have a cancel and thank you letter set up, you can also do that as well. In my data set, I do not have those set up, so that's why they are not highlighted. You also have a bill to button up here, so you can set the master bill to, or maybe you change the bill to where now they're going to include meals at the restaurant, but everybody else has to pay for faxes and phone calls. So you need to change that. So you can change the group master bill to, and then as everybody that is checked in, you would say update bill to over to in-house, and that would modify them and add the different parameters that you just set for the group master bill to setup, excuse me. So that's what we use those for. And the toolbar, this is just another way for you to get to the F screens. So F2, F4, view availability. So if you're needing to do modified group allocations to accommodate, you want to at least make sure that you have the availability. So this is a quick button for you to check that availability so that you can see if you can accommodate that group member. And then again, on your version 9 properties out there, which I believe most of you are, you always have the ability to run an extra menu, and that can be very handy for you when you're looking for a reservation or just moving around and needing to check on something. So don't forget, you have the ability to use a multi-menu on that. And that is our groups. We've created a group, we've allocated rooms, and we've talked about how to book group room management and make reservations and the different ways that we can do it. So, and that is what we're going to be covering today. We have 10 minutes left, and if anybody's got any questions, feel free to go ahead and send me a message. Let's see, we have a question here. Can you set the guest class so that it defaults to whatever class I want, such as a guest corporate or whatever I want the default to be? The guest class is assigned when you book the group master, so you can have a guest class that's always the default one you go to, But that guest class will stay for all reservations that are attached to that group. So if there's one that you always want to use, you can, but you also have the ability to use multiple guest classes as well. And that will be booked during the group when you create it. All right, do we have any other questions? Okay. Until I see another question come up, I'm going to go ahead and talk about one more thing, and that is the customer rooming list. The customer rooming list, I'm going to bring that up. Excuse me, let me get the screen out of the way. Will show you the status of the person. So let's say the bus driver shows up for the AutoClerk group, and you've already pre-registered everybody, you've got everybody checked in, and he needs to know where he's putting everybody's luggage. As long as the room is checked in, as you can see with Gary's reservation is checked in, it will show the door number. If you have pre-blocked the group and assigned door numbers to all of them, they will not show up on this group rooming list until they are checked in. So it's a very handy report to hand to that bus driver once the group's checked in for him to see who's in what room and be able to take that and put the luggage into those rooms. So that is the group rooming list. Otherwise, it won't show the door numbers again. Even if you have them assigned, it will not show on this report unless their status is set to check in. But if you have a wedding and the mother of the bride or the coordinator for the wedding wants to know who's booked, this is a great list to give them to let them know who's in, what their confirmation numbers are, and what their stay is. And that, again, is under reservation groups, and that's a customer rooming list. The group, now we will be doing a part 2 to cover all the other things that we were not able to cover today in our hour for this. So look, please, we'll send out another email letting everybody know when we're going to be setting up the part 2. But I'm going to quickly go over group pickup report because I don't see anybody else that has any other questions to go over. So what the group pickup report is you can look at multiple groups or single groups, and you can do it for a date range, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, or whenever your group dates that you're looking for, sorry. You can do multiple groups, but if it's just a single group, there's no need for a date. You're just going to go after the confirmation number. You can include unused and details of that group. So what I'm going to do is show you the multi-group window real quick and show you what that looks like. Now, we only have one group currently in-house that we're working with. And this will show you the pickup, what is still unused, and then the overall total, the revenue when of all 9 rooms being picked up at the rate you set. And now what the individual details shows you is what the revenue would be per room, per how many units that you have booked for that. And so you can quickly see what your ADR is going to be, what your overall revenue is going to be, and it also shows you the confirmation number for research. So when you're trying to do commissions, you can see what confirmation numbers were checked in and that they were group members and what rates they were set at so that you can pay your commissionable rates for them. And it doesn't matter what room type they're in, it shows you that rate, as you can see. The bulk of it is $140 for these reservations because of them being booked under the King Non. So their rates are $140 a night. Under the Queen Smoking, it's $80. And then you get the grand totals down here at the bottom. So it's a very quick, useful report to just see how much revenue, how much pickup, what's going on with this group. And so when you're looking at future groups for, like, say, next month, and all of a sudden you've had a drop from the report you printed prior, you'll see that you probably lost some allocations, your group released, and maybe you missed the group release warning, or the group canceled. And so you'll be able to research that by being able to run this report. All right, so we have a few minutes left, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to send them out to me. Otherwise, we are pretty much done with our first groups webinar. I hope you were able to pick up something that you didn't know before. And if you have any questions that I might, oh, I have another question. Can you check in and out the entire group in one button? Unfortunately, no, you cannot check in everybody because you'd have to assign the door numbers, and so no, but you can check out everybody in one button, the checkout button, but again, everybody would have to have a 0 balance for you to use the group room management screen to check out everybody in the group. And in our case, we'll show you AutoClerk Let me get rid of that screen. So the check all button would be due out today, all. So that's your one button. But unfortunately, no, you could not check in everybody in one shot. But that is a really good request. I can also turn those kind of things in for future consideration when we change things in our program. So thank you for that question. All right, let's see if we have any more. Okay. Doesn't look like it. All right, so in the email, hopefully you guys all got the documentation that covers the groups so that, you know, anything that we didn't cover today that you would be able to go through on the group's documentation. If you did not get a copy of that, please send me an email at bveloso, that's B as in boy, V as in Victor, I-L-L-O, S as in Sam, O at autoclerk.com, or you can give me a call at extension 1809. I'm happy to answer any questions you didn't think of until after the webinar, or if you're running into something you saw and it's not working for you, please feel free to give me a call. And I guess one more thing too, this session has been recorded, so just want to remind you that, you know, if you have new staff members and you want to put them through that, this webinar will be available for them to view, or other people that were not able to make it. So thank you very much. If there's no more questions out there, I'm going to go ahead and wish you all a great day. And again, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to doing more webinars with you guys in the future, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.